Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
NBC brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to burglary detail. A gang of hijackers has started to work in your city. Truckloads of valuable merchandise have vanished. The thieves are clever, seem to have a foolproof system. Your job, find them.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime, investigated and solved by the men who unrelentingly stand watch on the security of your home, your family, and your life. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Thursday, March 6th. It was windy in Los Angeles. We were working the night watch out of burglary detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Ed Backstrand, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. I was on the way back from the record bureau, and it was 5:35 a.m. when I got to room 2A. Interrogation room. Read this to him, Ben.
Yeah. 2,600 dozen nylon stockings, 45 bolts of silk, 58 cases imported perfume.
Where are you dumping this stuff, Laval? That's what we want to know.
I told you the truth. I have nothing to do with it. I don't know anything about it.
What was this stolen waybill doing in the cab of your truck?
How many times do I have to tell you? I don't know.
Your fingerprints are all over it. You must have carried it there.
I didn't carry it there. Somebody's out to frame me.
How many in the hijack gang, Laval?
I'm not in a hijack game. I told you I don't know. When are you going to let me go?
Who's the head of the gang?
I don't know any head of the gang. I want to get out of here.
You're covering for somebody.
I'm not covering for anybody.
You take the rap for all this, you're going to have a beard down to your knees by the time you get out.
I'm not taking any rap.
Then let's have it.
I'm tired.
$42,000 worth. You know who took it. You know where it is.
They could have disappeared anywhere on their way from the east to the 1,000 places.
Nothing was missing from those shipments when they came in on the train. Everything was there when they were unloaded at the warehouse.
Then I don't know. I don't know.
Every dollar's worth was accounted for when it was loaded on the truck. Well, where is it now?
I'm tired. We've been here all night. Let me...
Laval, let me read it for you again. 2,600 dozen nylon stockings, 45 bolts of silk, 58 cases imported perfume. And you're trying to tell us somebody hijacked all that from the trucks without you knowing it?
The trucks were loaded at the warehouse. We went out to eat. We came back, got in the trucks, delivered the stuff, and that's all I know.
And while you were out eating, the receipts for the load disappeared, too. Is that right, Laval?
I don't know where the waybills are. The shipping clerk, that's his job.
We talked to him. He says one of you could have taken the waybill.
Well, then he's lying. I didn't take him.
Then what was this waybill doing in the cab of your truck?
I told you, I don't know. Somebody's trying to frame me.
Why?
I don't know. Somebody, I don't know why.
Then you better come up with an answer, mister.
Look, I'm tired. We've been here since 6 o'clock last night.
We're all tired. Who are you covering for? What are you trying to build? Any of that coffee left, Ben?
It's cold.
That's all right. You want some, Laval?
No.
All right, now, look, let's get one thing straight. We've been here all night. We can be here all day, tomorrow, the day after that, and the day after that.
Yeah.
We got enough to make you on this. You know that. And we're going to stay with you to tell us the truth, everything.
I've told you all I'm going to tell you. If we stay here for 6 months, you got it all.
This your home phone, Hillside 8321.
That's right, 8321.
What time's your wife get up, Laval?
What do you mean?
Ben, get an outside line.
Yeah.
You're not going to call my home.
It's Hillside 8321, Ben.
Outside, please.
Don't do that. Don't. Not my wife. Please. All right. Ask the questions again. This time I'll give you the answers.
Thomas Laval was 38 years old. He was a well-respected man in his community. Sometimes it's like that. You can question a man for hours, and he'll never give you any information. But somewhere in every man's makeup, there's a weak point. We were lucky enough to find Laval's. He told us that he would give us the locations where the hijacked goods were hidden. He told us the addresses were written on the ledge of a windowsill on the 7th floor of the Teamsters Union Hall. It was 8:30 a.m. On the 7th floor, is that right?
Yeah. Do me a favor.
Don't make it too big.
Well, look, we have to walk through the hiring hall before we get to the elevators in the back.
Yeah?
These handcuffs. They'll see them, all the guys in the hall. They know me. Can't you take them off my wrists till we get in the elevator?
Sorry, Laval.
Well, I won't try anything, but don't make me walk in front of them with these on.
Sorry.
Just till we get in the elevator. Can't you do that? I don't want the guys to see me.
Well, here's my overcoat, Laval. I'll drape it over your hands here, and they won't see the cuffs. There you are. Come on.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
Hi.
What's new, Tom?
Not much.
Oh, that was easy.
Let's take the elevator.
Yeah.
Cigarette?
No, thanks.
You?
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
It's down this way. Let me show you. To the left. A window up ahead there. Yeah, this one.
I don't see anything on the windowsill.
It's on the outside. Open the window and let me check. Yeah. Let me see here.
Ben, grab him. He's trying to jump.
Get back here. Get back.
I told you, you hear? I mean, go!
Get him, Joe.
Can't hold him. He's pulling me out. Hold on, Ben. Grab me.
Joe. Joe.
He's slipping.
Try, Joe. Hold on.
He's kicking loose. I can't hold him.
Hold him, Joe.
Ben! I couldn't hold him.
You almost went with him.
Let's get downstairs.
What happened?
Call an ambulance. There's been an accident. Thomas Laval was 38 years old. He was a well-respected man in his community. He died with the same reputation. We had a prisoner who'd met his death while in our custody. In cases like this, we had to have witnesses. By the time we got to the street, the usual accident crowd had gathered.
Anybody here see the accident?
What you want, witnesses?
Yeah. Did you see it?
Yeah, we saw it.
Let's get their names, Ben.
My name's Pete Garfield. This is Jack Morris. We'll be your witnesses.
You'll probably be subpoenaed for the inquest tomorrow morning.
Sure, we'll be there. We saw you push the guy out the window. We saw you kill him.
The next morning at 10 a.m. in the basement of the Hall of Justice, Harold J. Lane, Deputy Coroner, City and County of Los Angeles, read the report of the findings of the autopsy on the body of the deceased Thomas Laval. As is customary at a coroner's inquest, the identification witness was called to testify first.
Elizabeth Laval, please. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Be seated. State your name.
Elizabeth Laval,
What is your address?
1216 East Camarillo Drive.
What is your occupation?
I'm a housewife.
What is your relation to the deceased?
His wife.
Have you viewed the body of the deceased in this office?
Yes.
Who was the deceased?
Husband. Thomas Laval.
Is there anything further you wish to add? Thank you. Step down, please. Joseph Friday. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Be seated. State your name.
Joe Friday,
What is your address?
4656 Collis Avenue.
What is your occupation?
I'm a police officer in and for the city of Los Angeles.
Are you the investigating and arresting officer on this case?
I am.
Will you state briefly the facts relating to the death of the deceased?
On the morning following the arrest by us of the deceased on suspicion of grand theft merchandise, He expressed a desire to assist us in the apprehension of suspects involved in these thefts and the recovery of property taken in them.
Did he assist you?
Well, he informed us that if we took him to the Teamsters Union Hall, that he'd be able to obtain addresses of the locations where the stolen property was cached.
You then took him there.
Yes, we did.
What happened?
When we arrived, he requested us to remove his handcuffs. We refused. The deceased then informed us that the addresses were written on a window ledge on the 7th floor. When we arrived at the window, under the pretense of searching for the addresses, he threw himself over the ledge. I grabbed his left leg to restrain him, but he kicked loose.
Did you at any time have any idea that the deceased planned such action?
I did not.
What did you do then?
We immediately went to the location of the body and had an ambulance dispatched.
Do you have anything further to state?
No, I have not.
Are there any questions from the jury? That's all, Officer Friday. Step down. Peter Garfield. Raise your right hand.
Yeah.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
Be seated. State your name.
Pete Garfield.
What is your address?
1654 North Pico.
What is your occupation?
Truck driver. Down at General Warehouse.
Did you know the deceased?
Yeah.
How did you know him?
I worked with him. And that cop's a liar, and so's his buddy sitting over there.
Please confine the testimony of this inquest to facts. Were you present at the time the deceased met his death?
I told you I was. And those two cops pushed Tom out of the window.
Where were you at the time the deceased was pushed or jumped from the window?
Jack and I just left the Union Hall. We were going out the front door when it happened.
What attracted your attention?
I heard him scream. When I looked up, Tom was falling. That cop was standing at the window watching him.
Did you see the officer push him?
Yes, I saw him.
Did I understand you to say you were on the street outside the building at the time?
Yeah.
And you saw the officers push the deceased from the window on the 7th floor from your vantage point?
Yeah.
Isn't it true that that's a physical impossibility?
What is?
That you could have seen what you testified to from where you were standing?
I know they pushed him.
You know or you saw?
I know, that's all. Tom wouldn't jump out of a window.
Then it's true you didn't see the officers push the deceased out of the window?
No, I didn't see him.
Is there anything further you'd like to add?
They must have pushed him.
Any question from the jury? That's all, Garfield. Step down. Dorothy River. Raise your right hand.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Be seated. State your name.
Dorothy River,
What is your address?
211 South Beverly Drive.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a stenographer at the Teamsters Union Hall.
Were you present the morning the deceased met his death?
I was.
State where you were and what you were doing.
I was in our office on the 7th floor doing some filing.
Please state what you witnessed.
The filing cabinet in our office is by the door. The office faces on the hallway, and the door happened to be open. I heard a commotion and looked out. I saw those two officers struggling with a man.
Did you hear any conversation?
Yes. I heard that officer there say, "Get back here, get back." The man outside the window yelled, "Let me go, let me go." This officer here, Officer Friday, said, "He's pulling me out. Hold on, Ben, grab me."
How far from the window were you?
I'd say about 15 feet.
Do you have anything else to add?
Yes. As the two policemen started downstairs, Officer Friday said to me, "Call an ambulance. There's been an accident."
Thank you, Miss River.
Those officers didn't push that man out the window. They were trying to hold him.
After hearing additional witnesses, the coroner's jury retired at 11:57 a.m. 8 minutes later, they returned with their decision. The deceased met his death voluntarily and by his own actions. The homicide detail continued the investigation of Laval's death. A week went by. With homicide working one side, we hoped that they might turn up additional leads in the hijacking case. Nothing turned up. The It seemed that with the death of Thomas Laval, our leads came to an abrupt stop. On Tuesday morning, March 16th at 9 a.m., we got a call from Chief of Detectives Ed Backstrand.
Now, once more, what about the way bills on these shipments? You checked them?
Everything we could.
Talk to everybody and handle them.
And talk to him some more. $42,000 in merchandise doesn't just disappear. Now, who's the last one to handle those way bills?
The warehouse shipping clerk.
The bills were signed and stamped. 2 hours after he filed them in his desk, they disappeared.
What about the truck drivers? You checked them out?
Talked to all of them. Nothing so far.
Nothing was missing from those shipments until they left the warehouse, is that right?
Yeah.
And somewhere in between the warehouse and the delivery points, $42,000 worth of goods disappeared.
Somebody's got to be hijacking those loads. We know that, but how do we get to it?
Maybe they're working alone. Maybe they're working with the truck drivers. It's one of the others. Got to be.
We just hadn't lost Laval.
Well, you lost him. That doesn't close the case.
You got a suggestion?
Yeah, I got a suggestion. Crack it.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories from official police files. And now, an important announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to announce that starting next Thursday, October 6th, Dragnet will be brought to you by Fatima Cigarettes. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, the listener, for your excellent response to our efforts in bringing you these weekly authentic presentations of actual cases from official files. Your letters are the only indications we have that Dragnet is a source of your listening pleasure. We'd like to hear from all of you.
Starting next Thursday, October 6th, over most of these same NBC stations, Dragnet will be heard weekly at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, immediately following the Supper Club. Check your newspaper for local release time.
We stayed on the job. Another week went by. No leads. We spent so much time at the general warehouse where the merchandise disappeared that we almost got to be a part of the crew. We got to know everybody. We made frequent visits to the Teamsters Union Hall, but got us nothing. On Wednesday, March 26th, we reported in for work at 8 a.m.
Friday, Romero.
Yeah, Skipper?
You fooled around just long enough. They hijacked another load last night. $38,000.
What outfit?
Same, general warehouse. Who's your contact down there?
Ray Hobart, shipping clerk.
Now hop down there right now and get the details.
Right, Ed.
There are two ways to solve this thing.
Yeah?
You can get those hijackers now or wait till General Warehouse goes out of business. Get on it.
Hobart, who was the shipping clerk on duty last night?
I was, working for Siggy, Siegelmeister. He's out with a cold.
And you saw the stuff was loaded on the trucks and you checked the way bill.
As usual. Everything as usual. Checked the trucks out at 2 a.m., went back to the office, filed the way bills.
You work a pretty heavy schedule, Hobart. You started at 2 a.m. and you're still on duty?
It took the last 4 hours of Siggy's shift, at 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. He had a cold. I was back here at 10 this morning to start my own shift.
When did you find out the way bills were missing on that shipment last night?
Just before I went off. Maybe 5:30, 5:45.
Well, how about the truck drivers who handled that load, Hobart? You got them?
Let's see. I got it right here.
Okay.
Here you go, Sergeant. Jack Morris and Pete Garfield.
Jack Morris and Pete Garfield were brought in for questioning. We double-checked with Homicide and found that their reports on Morris and Garfield tallied with ours. No previous records. Both men had been tailed for a reasonable length of time since their testimony at the Laval inquest. Their actions failed to implicate them. 4 days after the second hijacking, we got a tip from one of our informants down in the warehouse district. He told us that a man in a gray suit had been hanging around the coffee shop next to the Teamsters Union Hall. He was peddling nylon stockings, cheap. There had been other reports like this, which we had followed up, but none of them had paid off. Usually such leads didn't pay off, but we couldn't be sure. They had to be checked. At a few minutes before 5 that afternoon, we found the nylon salesman in the gray suit in the back booth of the coffee shop adjoining the Union Hall.
Look, Meg. Take a look. Fine it. You can't do better. 51-gauge nylon. Look good, huh?
Sure do, don't they, Joe?
Yeah, they do. We've been looking for you, Max. Some of the guys in the Union Hall said that you'd be around.
Sure, I saw lots of these around the hall. Truck drivers, just like you, buying them like crazy. Good deal.
Sure looks like it, man. How many pair can we have?
Many as you want. 4 bits a pair, you name it.
You got a couple of dozen for us?
Couple of dozen? No, not on me, but I can get them. Many as you want.
Well, we're kind of in a hurry. Can you get them for us fast?
Couple of dozen.
Better make it 3 dozen, huh, Joe?
Yeah, if you want. 3 dozen. Can you get them now?
Couple of hours I can get them. Same quality. Want to meet me here?
Oh, I don't know. We wanted them for tonight. My wife's birthday, you know.
Well, maybe an hour and a half. How's that? 3 dozen, meet you here.
Oh, look, Mac, maybe we're both heading the same direction. Can't we go with you and pick up the nylon? Save time for all of us.
No, I don't think so. No. Can't you wait? Hour and a half? How's that? Never find a better buy.
I'm sorry, Mac. I wish we had the time. Well, where do you have to go to pick up these nylons?
Oh, way out. Sunset Boulevard near Fairfax. Can't you wait? I'll make it fast.
Can't we pay you and then go out and pick them up ourselves?
Huh? No. Don't work that way. No. Can't you wait here? I'll make it fast.
We ought to be home now, Joe. Yeah, I'm sorry, mister. We'll have to skip it.
Yeah, maybe we can pick up something on the way home, Ben. Candy or something. Wife likes candy.
Now, look, fellas, I don't want to see you lose out on this deal. I'll meet you halfway.
How do you mean?
Look, together we'll go out to Sunset and Fairfax, huh? Near the place. You wait there at the hamburger stand, and in 5 minutes I'll bring you the stuff, okay?
Oh, I don't know. We're late already, but... All right, it's a deal. I'll call the wife and tell her we're going to be a little later. 3 dozen, is that right?
3 dozen of the best. You can't do better.
All right, I'll be back in just a minute.
$253.
2523.
Chief of Detectives Office, Chandler.
Mike, Joe Friday, Backstrand there?
Out right now, Joe.
Well, then do me a favor, Chandler. Make it fast. Get a couple of men out to Sunset and Fairfax as fast as you can. Tell them to watch for Ben and me. You got that?
Yeah, what else?
We'll drive up in our car with another man. Ben and I will get out of the car and go in the hamburger stand. The other man will walk off. Whoever you get, tell him to follow that man. You got it?
Right.
All right. Just tail him. See where he goes, see what he does.
Okay, Joe, right away.
All set, Joe? She got dinner ready?
Yeah, just about. We better hustle.
Sure. Best deal in the world. Let's go.
At 5 minutes to 6, we pulled up at the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Fairfax. It was almost dark. Ben and I got out of the car and started over for the hamburger stand on the corner. We caught a glimpse of Barcy and Kaplan, one of our detective cars, parked in a gas station on the opposite corner. They had their eyes on our man. When the traffic signals changed, the man crossed the street and headed down Fairfax. Barcy and Kaplan waited a minute, and then they took off after him. He turned at the next corner and disappeared from sight. Ben and I ordered a cup of coffee, and we sat down to wait. At 6:30, we were still waiting. At 5 minutes to 7, I went across the street to the drugstore and called the office. Barcy and Kaplan hadn't been heard from. Their car, 105K, was not acknowledging calls. I had my call switched from communications to Backstrand's office.
Well, they lost him Friday. I don't know how they lost him, but they lost him.
Well, who's out there now?
Sullivan and Whitney took a detail out there. They're combing the neighborhood right now.
Well, how did it happen? A man just doesn't disappear into thin air.
That's what I keep telling you about that stuff that's been hijacked.
The search for the nylon salesman went on all that night and most of the next day. From his description, we ran a make on him. No previous record. He had disappeared completely. We were right back where we'd started from. The only thing we could do was to start backtracking, re-questioning the people at General Warehouse, the truck drivers, the shipping clerks. We kept a close check on Garfield and Morris, and we went back to the only possible lead still remaining, Mrs. Laval. She could tell us nothing more than we already knew. When we left her, we started on the neighbors for the second time around. For the rest of the day, we canvassed the immediate neighborhood. We got as many opinions of the Lavals as they had neighbors. At 3:30 that afternoon, we visited with Miss Gertrude Langster, a 50-year-old maiden lady who lived almost directly across the street from the Laval house. She'd been out of town the first time we covered the neighborhood.
The old saying goes, Sergeant, there's no fool like an old fool. Oh, say, if I told you the chances I had when I was a girl.
Yeah, but we just...
not truck drivers like that. Laval man, God rest his soul. But fine, wealthy men, bankers, lawyers. Templeton Grant, you remember him?
No,
banker.
ma'am.
I was engaged to him once. Butterfly waist. That's what he used to call me.
Well,
I was slim in those days. Would you like to see some pictures of me as a girl?
No, thank you, ma'am. We'd just like to ask you a few questions, that's all.
Could you tell us if the Lavals had many visitors to their house in the past 6 months or so?
Oh, my, no. Funniest thing, I am the nosy type, Sergeant. I like to know everything that goes on around my neighborhood, and you can take my word for it, the Lavals never had visitors. You know, Sergeant Friday, you remind me of a young man I used to be engaged to just a few years ago.
Yes, Miss Langston.
Now, would you tell us, please? Did you have any reason to think that there was something a little out of the ordinary about Laval?
Oh, little out of the ordinary, he says, but my dear man, yes. Here he was, a truck driver, and there she was with a home furnished like the Astors. Why, I even used to see him cart some of the things home in that car. His beautiful things, rugs and glassware, bolts of fabric. Oh, gorgeous.
And he'd bring these things home after work. Is that it, Miss Langston?
Anytime. Day or night, weekends, anytime.
Mm-hmm.
After 4, Joe, we better call office.
Yeah. Now, are you sure of all that you've told us, Miss Langster?
Sure. Oh, my dear man, of course I'm sure. I watched him week after week.
Well, thank you.
Won't you stay for a cup of tea? I'll have Josephine fix it. Josephine?
No, thank you, ma'am.
Well, then, perhaps a glass of sherry?
Thank you, no. But there is something.
Yes?
I wonder if we could use your phone, please.
Oh, yes. In the hall, next to the umbrella stand.
Thank you, ma'am.
City Hall.
2523.
2523.
Thanks, Trent.
Friday, Ed. Nothing much here.
Well, there's something here. Barcy and Kaplan just called. Pete Garfield left his house half an hour ago. Then he picked up Morris.
What's so unusual about that?
Nothing, except the guy driving the car is the little man in the gray suit, the nylon salesman. Barcy and Kaplan are tailing him.
Where are they now?
Headed north out Riverside Drive.
Well, there's nothing out there but a golf course and a lot of riding stables.
I don't care what they do for recreation. Go get them.
With red light and siren, it took us 12 minutes to pick up Barcy and Kaplan on Riverside Drive. At 4:23 p.m., we pulled up in front of the Blue Pony riding stables. Barcy and Kaplan's car was overturned just beyond the driveway leading up to the riding academy.
Kaplan's hurt. I called an ambulance. They rammed us.
What kind of a car are they in?
They switched. They're driving a 12-ton Bulldog semi.
Which way they head?
Going north. Got a 3-minute lead on you. Pneumatic commercial. Adam 653.
Let's go, Ben.
Can you see him, Joe?
No, not yet. Watch that crossing.
Up ahead, Joe. That's a semi. Can you read it?
Wait a minute. Adam 653. That's them.
Took a right on Lancashire.
Don't lose them.
They're pushing that semi too hard.
Look at that trailer sway.
They'll have to stay on Lancashire. They're going too fast to turn now.
Traffic's closing in up ahead of them.
They better not turn.
That's what they're doing.
Look at that trailer whip. They're going over.
Into that storefront. Come on, Ben.
You all right?
Wait a minute. Let me see. Yeah, they're banged up, but they're alive.
Well, there they are, Joe.
Yeah.
Garfield, Morris, little man in a gray suit.
It's funny, isn't it?
What's that?
Garfield's going to swear we pushed that truck through that window.
The story you have just heard is true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
Peter Garfield, Jack Morris, and John Dolfo, the stocking salesman, were hospitalized and later brought to trial. They were convicted on charges of grand theft and received sentences as prescribed by law. They are now serving their terms in the state penitentiary. You have just heard the 18th in a new series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet comes from the Office of Acting Chief of Police W.A. Wharton, Los Angeles Police Department.
Tonight's program is dedicated to motorcycle officer Elmer Forsman of the Fresno, California Police Department, who on the afternoon of October 6, 1946, gave his life so that yours might be more secure.
Remember, starting next Thursday night, October 6th, Fatima Cigarettes invite you to listen to Dragnet immediately following the Supper Club. That's 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over most of these same NBC stations. Check your newspaper for local release time. Dragnet came to you from Los Angeles.
Judy Canova joins the star lineup of Saturday shows tonight on NBC. Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A vicious killer has taken the life of a 62-year-old woman. Suspicion points in only one direction. The murderer was heartless, cold-blooded. Your job, get him.
If you want a long cigarette, smoke the best of long cigarettes. Smoke Fatima. It's the long cigarette that contains an essential ingredient of all the very popular cigarettes, Turkish tobacco. That's why you see the Turkish symbols on the attractive golden yellow Fatima package. That's why Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. That's why Fatima doubles and redoubles its smokers. Yes, if you want a long cigarette, smoke the best of long cigarettes. Smoke Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Saturday, November 5th. It was foggy in Los Angeles. We were working the day watch out of homicide. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Ed Backstrand, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. It was 3:35 p.m. when I got to room 42. Homicide.
Long distance.
This is Friday in homicide. I'd like to place a call to Mr. Frank Rinard in Murphy, Idaho. The number's 761.
Frank Rinard, Murphy, Idaho, 761.
Yeah, that's right. The call's been cleared with the business office.
All right. Do you want me to call you back, Sergeant?
No, I'll hang on.
Okay, I'll place it for you. Long distance? Long distance, Mr. Frank Rinard, Murphy, Idaho. Murphy, 761. Thank you. New Haven, Connecticut. Your number, please. Charge the call to Madison, 7961. Thank you. The time and charges when the call's completed, operator. Rate operator? Ready to put a man out? Yes, Murphy, Idaho, routing and person rate. NAMPA, Napa. All right. Operator, the number is 4C. All right. 160 plus. 160, thank you. Welcome. Through Boise. I'm calling Napa. Murphy, 761. Thank you. Keep ringing, 761. They're ringing the number, Sergeant.
Okay, thanks.
Hello?
Mr. Frank Rinard, please. Los Angeles calling.
Who do you want?
Mr. Frank Rinard, please. Los Angeles calling.
I'm Frank Rinard.
Go ahead, please. All right, Sergeant, go ahead.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, Frank Rinard?
Yeah, who's this?
This is Sergeant Friday, Los Angeles Police Department. I've got an urgent message for you.
For me? Well, what's the matter?
Your wife, Dolores, asked me to call you. Something's happened to your mother.
What do you mean? What's happened?
I better let your wife tell you. She wants you back in Los Angeles right away.
Look, what's this all about? I can't leave my job now.
You better come. Your mother's been murdered.
Talk to the skipper, Joe. He's on his way in.
That's good.
Did you call my husband? Did you?
He's flying down from Idaho tonight. Be here in the morning.
You tell him about me? The trouble I'm in?
I told him his mother was murdered. That's all I told him, Mrs. Rinard.
And what am I going to say to Frank? He always sided in with his mother. He'll never believe me. What can I tell him?
Jory can give you more trouble than your husband can. What you going to tell them?
Are you stupid or something? How many times do I have to say it? I didn't kill her. I didn't kill her.
It's a small room, Ms. Rinard. We can hear you. Sit down, please.
I won't sit down. You're not pinning this on me because I didn't do it. Anybody could have killed the old hag, but I didn't.
Will you sit down, please?
I don't have to take this. I'm no tramp. Keeping me in here, asking me questions. I told you all I know.
Look, you're in a bad spot. I hope you realize that.
I didn't kill her.
Ms. Rinard, how long have you and your mother-in-law been living together in the house on Chavez Road?
Since Frank took the job up in Idaho. About 6 months. He said it'd be better for me while he was away living with her.
Your neighbors told us you didn't get along very well with your mother-in-law.
That's right, I didn't. She hated me, I hated her.
You used to fight with her, is that right? You hit her.
Only a couple of times. She called me dirty names. I hit her. She pulled me by the hair. I hated her like everything. I didn't kill her.
Once more, Ms. Rinard, would you mind telling us how you spent your time since early this morning, where you went, what you did, everything?
I told you already everything.
Will you tell us again, please?
I got up about 9:15. I had a cup of coffee and then I got dressed. The old lady was on the back porch doing the washing.
What did your mother-in-law do for a living?
I told you. She took in washing. After I got dressed, I left the house. About 10 minutes after 9, I went downtown to the dentist. He filled a tooth for me. This one here, you can ask him.
What time did you leave the dentist's office?
About 10:15, maybe 20 after. You can ask him.
What'd you do after that?
I walked around window shopping.
Did you buy anything, talk to anybody?
I told you no.
What time did you get home?
12:30. I went in the bedroom. The old lady was on the floor. Blood all over. I felt her heart. It wasn't beating.
And is that when you got the blood on your dress?
Yeah. Now, that's all I'm going to say. 3 times I told you the same story already.
And you still can't account for your time between 10:20 this morning and the time you found the body and called the police at 12:30.
I told you. I left the dentist. I went window shopping. Then I walked home.
And during that time, you didn't talk to anyone and no one saw you?
Lots of people saw me. People on the street downtown. I'm no tramp. I don't talk to everybody.
None of your neighbors saw you come home, Ms. Rinard?
Of course they didn't see me. I cut across the back lot up from San Jose Avenue. I came in the back way.
The lady who lives next door to you. She says she was in the backyard about noontime. She stayed there till after 1 o'clock. She didn't see you come in the back way.
Then she's a liar. She's a dirty liar.
You and your husband took out an insurance policy on your mother-in-law last year. Is that right, Ms. Rinard?
Sure it is. What of it?
$5,000?
Yeah, so what?
You know a man by the name of George Martino?
No.
You better tell the truth, Ms. Rinard.
All right, so I do. He's a friend of mine.
You've been running around with him since your husband's been away.
None of your business. I do what I want.
Your mother-in-law found out about Martino. That's what you fought about most of the time.
Oh, she was crazy. He's a friend of mine, that's all.
Are you telling the truth, Ms. Rinard?
Martino's a boyfriend of mine. I told you, that's all.
Your mother-in-law found out you were running around with him. She warned you if you didn't shake Martino, she'd write your husband. You said you'd kill her if she did.
That's a lie.
That's what your mother-in-law told one of the neighbor ladies.
And I said it just to scare her. One night I was drinking. We had a fight. She was yapping at me all night. I said it just to scare her.
But she wrote the letter anyway.
And that's what she said. But I didn't kill her.
You had the time, the motive, and the opportunity.
It wasn't me. I didn't kill her.
Interrogation room Friday.
This is Brennan, Joe.
Yeah, Bill. Where are you?
Santa Monica. Picked up George Martino.
Ben and I drove Mrs. Rinard to Lincoln Heights Jail, 5th floor, and had her booked on suspicion of 187 PC. When we checked back in at the office, Brennan and Wiseman, the other 2 men on the case with Ben and I, were questioning George Martino in the interrogation room. Ben and I stood by. Martino admitted only 2 things. He had been running around with Mrs. Rinard since her husband left town, and he had heard Mrs. Rinard express a desire to do away with her mother-in-law. After the questioning of Martino, Sergeant Brennan, Ben and I met with Chief Ed Backstrand. It was 5:15 p.m.
You got everything but the murder weapon, huh?
That and Mrs. Renard's confession. She ought to come through, huh, Joe?
I don't know. She's scared, but she's still got a smart mouth. What about Martino, Brennan? You think he had a hand in it?
I don't think so. We spent most of the afternoon talking to him. He hasn't got the guts. We took a statement.
And does he have an alibi?
Solid.
What was the cause of death?
Strangulation, multiple fractures of the skull.
All the motives are with Mrs. Rinard, Chief. Pretty clear-cut job.
No evidence of robbery or burglary, I guess.
A couple of the dresser drawers in the bedroom were emptied on the floor and clothes tossed all around. Pretty obvious blind to make it look like burglary.
Maybe.
We found 3 $1 bills in plain sight. They were on the floor near the body. If a burglar went through the stuff, he wouldn't have missed that money.
And it shouldn't be too much trouble tying it up.
Shouldn't be, Skipper.
Friday and Romero, you follow the case through. Just a minute. Hello, Backstrand. Yeah? What? All right, I'll send him over. Lee Jones. Just finished checking the evidence at the crime lab.
Yeah?
He thinks Mrs. Rinard's innocent.
There they are, fellas. Facts don't lie.
But she had every reason in the world to kill the old lady.
In my book, she couldn't have killed her.
All right, let's have it, Lee. How does the evidence add up?
That's just it, Joe. It doesn't. Take a look. The dress Mrs. Rinard was wearing when she found the body.
That's it. Blood smears near the hem.
2 smears, that's all. Now, if she murdered her mother-in-law, there should be more blood on this dress. And it shouldn't be smeared.
How do you mean?
First of all, the manner in which the old lady was killed. Head was battered in. Must have bled profusely. No question about that.
All right, go ahead.
Whoever murdered the old lady must have stains all over their clothes. Here's the important part. Because of the nature of the wound, it would have stained in drops, not smears.
Well, how can you tell the difference? Maybe these are drop stains on her desk.
They're not. I checked them with a microscope. Only the higher ribs of the cloth are stained. The smears, nothing else. But a drop forms its own definite drop pattern and permeates the cloth, soaks in.
No signs of that on her dress.
Not a one. Now, here's the silk scarf the old lady was strangled with.
Yeah?
Here's what I found in the knot tied in the scarf. A blonde hair, wavy.
Old lady had dark hair. So does Miss Rinard.
So does her boyfriend.
That's what I mean. This blonde hair is one of 2 things that didn't belong at that murder scene.
What else you got?
This here.
What is it, Lee?
Small piece of plastic from a gun butt, I'd say. See here? Crisscross surface, then a little smooth area here.
Yeah?
The killer could have hit the old lady with the butt of a gun.
And a piece of the stock could have chipped off like this, huh?
Miss Rinard doesn't own a gun. Neither did her mother-in-law.
Well, where does that leave us?
I don't know, Joe. There's the stuff. You can't disregard it. Maybe you can explain it.
Yeah. How?
Well, first prove this dress isn't the one Mrs. Rinard was wearing this morning. Then find the dress she did wear.
We know she wore this when the dentist identified it, and so did 2 of the neighbors.
That's what I mean. The dress is too clean, doesn't belong.
Yeah.
This blonde hair, this piece of gun butt, they don't belong either.
Well, then you think she's innocent.
You're looking at the evidence. What do you think?
6 p.m. Saturday, November 5th. Ben and I went back to the office and met with Brennan, Wiseman, and Ed Backstrand. The open and shut case against Mrs. Rinard was up in the air, but we still weren't sure that she was innocent of the murder of her mother-in-law. Ben and I drove to the Lincoln Heights jail and interviewed the suspect again. She agreed to submit to a lie detector test. We drove back to the office, contacted Sergeant Berger, the department's polygraph man, and set up a special test for the following day. The next morning, we met with Berger and formulated a list of key questions, and then we picked up Mrs. Rinard and brought her to the 3rd floor of the Old City Jail building, the polygraph room. At 10:33 a.m., the test got underway. As usual, Sergeant Berger conducted the interview alone. Backstrand, Ben, and I waited outside.
Well, how about Mrs. Rinard's husband? Get in town yet?
He's due in around noon, Skipper.
Got a smoke?
Yeah. Here you are, Ed.
Yeah, thanks. What time is it now?
11:25.
Here's Berger now.
That's it, Ed.
What'd you get?
I can study the chart a little more. The results are pretty well defined, though.
How's it look?
No reaction to the key questions.
What's your opinion?
I don't think she did it.
You are listening to Dragnet, authentic stories of your police force in action. And in leading magazines this week, you'll see this authentic story.
Headline: Fatima's sensational growth sets a record for long cigarettes.
Then you'll read the actual reasons smokers give for changing to Fatima.
Fatima is different. It's mild and has a wonderful flavor. Fatima's best.
These are the words of Miss Pamela Bookman of New York, where Fatima has increased its smokers 132%.
Fatima tastes much better than any other long cigarette. It's the best.
Says Mr. James S. Winterhalter of Detroit, where Fatima smokers have increased 348%.
I like the flavor, and Fatima is mild. It's the best long cigarette.
That's the statement of Mrs. Mary C. Werdeman of Los Angeles, where Fatima has increased its smokers 545%. Yes, more and more long cigarette smokers every day agree. A change to Fatima is a change to the best. Enjoy Fatima yourself. Best of long cigarettes.
8 a.m., Monday, November 7th. Mrs. Rinard was released from custody. We questioned her husband, Frank Rinard, briefly. He could tell us nothing more than we already knew. Brennan and Wiseman were called back on the case, and together the four of us started over again from the beginning. We had a dead body, 2 pieces of physical evidence to work with, no idea how to fit them together, and no suspects. We went back to the Chavez Road neighborhood where the murdered woman lived and started pushing doorbells. We canvassed the neighborhood for 3 days, and we uncovered one slim lead.
He was selling magazines, officer. Went door to door, right up the street here. Young fellow.
Could you describe the man for us, please?
Nothing to talk about. Pasty face, pimply complexion, blonde hair.
5:30 p.m. Wednesday, November the 9th. Ben and I met with Brennan and Wiseman in Ed Backstrand's office to compare notes. Together, we had more than a dozen reports of the magazine salesman's presence in the neighborhood just prior to the murder of Mrs. Renard's mother-in-law. The various descriptions of the man which we obtained from the people in the neighborhood tallied closely.
About 6 feet, 170 pounds, pimply complexion, blonde hair, fast talker. About 25 years old.
As far as we know, Skipper, he was the only stranger in the neighborhood last Saturday morning. Only one that people remember, anyway.
How close did you trace him to the Rinard house?
You got your list there, Brennan?
Yeah. There you are.
Thanks. Let's see. Well, he picked up his tracks down on Floresta Street, sold a couple of descriptions there, then he headed up Landers Avenue onto Chavez Road.
Yeah.
The Renards live at 2280 Chavez Road. That salesman talked to the woman at 2274 Chavez. That's 3 doors away from the Renards.
When was he seen there?
Let me see. Where is that, Brennan?
Oh, on the 15-7 sheet, Joe. Didn't have enough room on the report.
Oh, yeah. Here it is. Mrs. John Rico, 2274 Chavez. The guy was there about 11:45 Saturday morning.
Well, that puts him in the running. First time he ever showed in that neighborhood?
First time, Skipper. Fresh kid, not a very good salesman.
Here's the name of the company he's working for, the Harrison News Distributors.
You check with them?
No, they're closed for the night. We'll call them the first thing tomorrow.
Good. Here's something else for you. I had a call from Frank Rinard this afternoon.
What'd he have to say?
Seems in the excitement just after the murder, Mrs. Rinard overlooked a couple of things.
What's that?
Well, they're missing a yellow table model radio. It was in the bedroom where the old lady was killed.
Well, that ties in with a robbery motive, huh?
Yeah, they're missing a ring, too. Belonged to Mrs. Renard. Topaz ring. Supposed to be worth a little money.
But she didn't notice it was gone until today.
That's right.
You got the serial number on the radio?
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Brennan, here we are. It's an Emerson model 511, 180,000, 277609.
A lot of small radios in town.
There's only one with that serial number on it. Track it down.
A complete description of the Topaz ring and the serial numbers and description of the yellow table model radio were sent to the pawn shop detail. The information was then placed on the stolen property list and relayed to every pawn shop operator in the city. The next morning, Ben and I interviewed the manager of the Harrison News Distributing Company. There, the suspect had given his name as Sam Bricker. We checked out his home address. Turned out to be a gas station in North Hollywood. We took the suspect's job application blank with a specimen of his handwriting, and then we drove back to the office. Sam Bricker. We were unable to get a make on the name from the Record Bureau. We checked the cards on every known criminal who was cataloged in the oddity file as having a pimply complexion. None of them matched. That night, we got out an APB and a radiogram. The suspect's trail led from one salesman's job to the next. On his last job, he gave his name as Albert Berry. His address is 1430 Palo Alto Drive. That was in the Echo Lake District. Ben and I drove out to check it.
1428, 1430. There it is, Joe.
Yeah. At least it's not a gas station, huh? Come on.
Tiresome, huh?
Yeah, I could stand a change.
Yes, what is it?
We're looking for an Albert Berry, ma'am. Does he live here?
Mr. Berry, I'm sorry. He and his wife moved 4 days ago.
We identified ourselves as police officers and had the landlady, a Mrs. Catherine Hoffman, show us the apartment which Berry and his wife had occupied. It was still vacant. In one of the closets in the apartment, we found a cheap overnight bag. The lock on it was broken and one of the seams had ripped.
I forgot about that old bag, and Mr. Berry told me I could throw it away.
Take a look, huh, Ben? Yeah. How long has Berry been married? Do you know, Mrs. Hoffman?
No, I don't. But the way they acted, lovey-dovey all the time, I don't think they've been together long.
Hey, Joe. Look, some kind of an identification tag.
Yeah, let me see. Get it up here. It's a tool disc, it looks like, doesn't it? Jameson Larrabee, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
You're not after Mr. Berry, are you, officer?
Yes, ma'am, we are. Did he leave a forwarding address?
I wish he did. I'm holding 3 letters for Mrs. Berry in my apartment right now.
May we see them, please?
Certainly. Would you step this way, please? My apartment's just across the hall.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like a bottle of beer or something?
No, ma'am, thanks.
Let's see. I thought I put... Yes, here they are. 3 of them, Sergeant. From her folks, I think. Mrs. Berry's from Fresno.
Oh, that's good. I want to copy down this return address, Ben.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. That's C.K. Ulrich, U-L-R-I-C-K. 525 North Lamona, Fresno.
Yeah, I got it.
There you are, Miss Hoffman. By the way, did the Berrys say they'd call for their mail?
Mrs. Berry did. That's why I'm holding on to it.
All right. Just one more question. Do you remember if Mr. and Mrs. Berry had a radio?
Yes, they did. A small one.
Do you remember what brand it was?
No, I don't. It had a yellow case. That's all I remember.
Before we left, we called Ed Backstrand, and he had an immediate stakeout placed at the apartment house in case the Berrys returned to pick up their mail. Ben and I went back to the office and placed a call to the Pittsburgh Police Department. We gave them the description and the number of the tool disc which we'd found in Berry's old suitcase. They said they'd check with the Jameson Larrabee Company in the morning, and then they'd call us back. That night, Ben and I drove to Fresno and checked in at the police station up there. 2 officers were assigned to stake out the Ulrich home. We interviewed Mr. Ulrich, who identified himself as Albert Berry's father-in-law. He told us his daughter had married the murder suspect 8 months before, and he gave us pictures of Berry taken at the wedding. Ulrich told us that he'd catch a Santa Fe train out of Fresno the next morning. He wanted to be in Los Angeles to take his daughter home when Berry was apprehended. It was almost 2 a.m. when Ben and I left Fresno and started back for Los Angeles. We checked in at the office at 10 minutes past 8 the next morning. At 8:35, the call came through from the Pittsburgh Police Department.
What did they say, Joe?
It was a tool disc, all right. Jameson Larrabee Company, issued 18 months ago to one of their workers.
They give a name?
Albert Berry. 11 a.m. Monday, December the 5th. 1 month to the day since the 62-year-old woman had been beaten to death. The pictures of Berry and his wife, which had been taken at their wedding, were printed up in wholesale lots and distributed to all points. Mr. Ulrich, Berry's father-in-law, arrived in town and got himself a hotel room. We waited. There was no report from the stakeout at the apartment house. We checked back in at the office at 5 minutes to 1. I'll get it. Homicide, Friday.
This is Mr. Ulrich, Sergeant. I just got a call from my wife in Fresno. I thought you'd want to know.
What's that?
The wife got a letter from Norma. They're living in South Pasadena, an apartment.
You got the address there?
Yes, sir. That's what the wife called about. It's 134 Norway Terrace.
When was the letter mailed, do you know?
Wife said it was postmarked December 3rd, day before yesterday.
Get your coat on, Ulrich. We'll be right over. Ben and I picked up Mr. Ulrich at his hotel and drove to the South Pasadena address. Berry and his wife had the apartment on the top floor. Neither of them were at home. The landlord let us in with a pass key. In the bedroom, we found a small yellow radio. We checked the serial numbers. They matched. It was the same radio stolen from the Rinard house. In the bedroom closet, we found 2 suitcases. We checked through them.
Nothing in this one, Joe.
Here we are. Look at these.
What are they, Sergeant?
A pair of plastic gun butts.
Let's see, Joe.
One of them's been chipped, see?
Sergeant, somebody coming up the stairs.
All right, let's get in the living room. Be quiet.
Dad, what are you doing here? Who are these men?
Police, Norma. They want Albert. He killed a woman.
Dad.
It's all right, Norma. It'll be all right.
Did you know your husband killed a woman, Miss Berry?
He just told me last Saturday. We've been running away for a month now. Moving all the time. I wanted to know why. So he told me. He said I was in it as much as he was. And I'm tired of running.
Why did he kill her? Did he tell you that?
He said he broke in the house. He didn't know anyone was home. The old woman was in the bedroom. She started to cry out. He had a gun. He hit her with it.
Where's your husband now?
I don't know. He said he'd come home for dinner. About 5. I bought the groceries.
What time you got, Ben?
3:30. That ring you're wearing, Miss Berry, your husband give you that?
Yes, why?
What kind of a stone is that?
Topaz. Bert gave it to me. Why?
Nothing. We'll wait. 5 o'clock came and went. Barry failed to show. 5:30. Ulrich started to get nervous. 6 o'clock. 6:30. No sign of Barry. I went to the window and kept an eye on the street below. At 6:45, a light green Nash sedan pulled to a stop in front of the apartment house. A man got out and went into the main floor entrance.
It's Bert. I'll let him in.
All right. How long have you had the new car?
A couple of days. Bert got it credit. What do you want me to do now?
Does he have a key to the apartment here?
He lost it.
Okay, when he rings, let him in. Just act natural. Ben?
Yeah.
You cover me. I'll get the cuffs on him.
Right.
Hi, Bert.
Look out, Joe! All right, drop it, Barry.
Okay, Ben.
Yeah, he's fast with a gun.
Nice looking, isn't he, Sergeant? You'd never think he'd kill anybody.
Come on, let's take him in.
I love him. I still love him. But you're a cop. You wouldn't understand.
That's right, I wouldn't understand. I'm a cop.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On February 16th, 1947, trial was held in Superior Court, Department 82, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
Earlier tonight, you heard the reports of amazing increases in Fatima smokers from New York to Los Angeles. Yes, all over the country, Fatima is doubling and redoubling its sales. And here's reason one.
Fatima is the long cigarette that contains an essential ingredient of all the very popular cigarettes, Turkish tobacco.
Reason two.
Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette.
Reason three.
To millions of smokers, the name Fatima has always stood for the best in cigarette quality. Smoke Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
Albert Ralph Berry was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. His wife, Norma Berry, was found innocent of the charge that she harbored a criminal. She was returned home with her father. Berry was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the state penitentiary. You have just heard Dragnet, a new series of authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet comes from the Office of Acting Chief of Police, W.A. Wharton, Los Angeles Police Department.
Tonight's program is dedicated to Private Hubert W. Estes of the District of Columbia Metropolitan Police Department, who on the night of May 16th, 1947, gave his life so that yours might be more secure.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet, portion transcribed from Los Angeles.
Be sure to hear songs by Morton Downey tonight on NBC.